wrestling fans, we're back here with another edition of the Shoot Interview Series. We're here with North Carolina's own Shannon Moore. Last time we saw Shannon Moore, he was Kid Dynamo for Omega.
Yeah, a few years ago.
It was a few years ago, but he's got a lot of stories since then.
Yes, sir.
Now he doesn't need Kid Dynamo. He's just Shannon Moore. And welcome to the interview set.
Cool. Thank you for having me.
We always ask the first question with everybody well, first, before I ask you how you got started in the wrestling business, I want everybody to know how young you were when you got started in the wrestling business.
Right. I mean, it all goes back, I mean, just to the trampoline days. Everybody's heard the stories as far as the Hardys and the trampoline in the backyard and the whole thing of that. So, actually back then, that was 9, 10 years old. Then I've always been a fan of wrestling. Started on trampoline then, and actually it went from that to Matt and them creating the hard wrestling ring, which I didn't weigh enough. I couldn't take the impact of the hard ring. By that time I was 12 years old, 13 years old, and it was so rough on my body, I had to become the cameraman. So I was behind the camera for, a good year. And then finally, whenever I was 13, that's whenever I started training in the hard ring, where I could actually start absorbing some of the pain and some of the suffering. So I was really excited. So at 13, that's whenever I actually started my journey as far as, I would say, professional wrestling, because it was the actual wrestling ring and not a trampoline.
And you must have been by far the youngest guy in that, what we call the Omega class.
Yeah, I was the kid. Actually, that's funny that you say that, because me and Matt, we were eating last night actually, and he said, God, he said, you're 26 years old now. He said, but you're 18, you're 17, you're 18 years old in my mind, because I was always the youngest. I was the kid of the group, and it's just funny because I look at it like that too. I was the youngest of the group, and it's like now, I look and I'm 26 years old, and it's like, wow, I'm getting old. It's like, I was 13, I was 14 then, and I was wrestling, but now it's, reality hits. You're 26, and years have flew by.
You're 26, and you've already had a wrestling career that a lot of others would have loved to have had, and
oh, definitely
still very young. We want to. What age were you when you actually had that first match, and where was it?
My first match, I was 15. I was I think April 8th, 1995. It was at the fairgrounds. No, actually, I'm sorry. It was at Pinecrest High School. I wrestled Jeff Hardy, and I was under a mask, and I think I went as Enigma. That was just the character that all the new guys come in as. It's like the Enigma. It's that first match. That you're gonna wear the mask. It was against Jeff. He was Wolverine, and it was, I'd have to say, one of the worst matches you could probably ever see, just because it was just ridiculous. You go back and watch it and you go, wow. But it was April 8th, 1995. It's, I guess 10 years ago.
And when was Kid Dynamo born?
Kid Dynamo, it wasn't too long after that. It was it was probably a few shows after that. Me and Matt, I remember we were sitting around in the house, and we were just thinking of different things, and obviously I was young, and just the whole kid thing fit because I was a kid. That's just the way it was. And then we just come up with Dynamo. Like Matt, he liked Dynamo. He's like, I think that's it. And so we went with that and just stuck with it, and it stuck with me pretty much through the indie scene.
How did all you guys meet each other? We call it the Omega crew now. How did you guys all end up meeting each other?
I met Matt and Jeff. My family, we moved to Cameron, North Carolina. I guess that was the beginning of my 5th grade year, end of my 4th grade year, something like that. And my mom and dad, we relocated to Cameron, and this guy Billy Hall, he's a friend of Matt and Jeff's. He had been living in Cameron all his life. He lived on the same road that I lived on, and Matt and Jeff, they would come over and they'd watch the pay-per-views and stuff at his house. It was the big pay-per-view party, and once I met Billy and everybody, and I started going to watch the pay-per-views, and Matt and Jeff would come over, and we just kind of started talking, become friends. And Jeff, he went to my school. He was in 8th grade at the time, and I think I was in 5th grade. And we become friends then, and it was I was hanging out with the 8th graders, so it's kind of cool, like he was my buddy. Because that was the thing, whenever you're 5th grade, nobody thinks you're cool, you're sitting there and everybody just makes fun, especially 8th graders, they make fun of you. But Jeff, we met at Billy's house, so we just we become friends like that pretty much, and that was the start of the journey of, I guess, our friendship and the Omega powers, the start of it.
A lot of people watched tapes of Omega, but they didn't know what Omega was all about and what was different about it. Tell us what it was like wrestling with Omega and all the guys that we know of as today through WWE.
Omega, it was such a different group because everybody was so tight. It's very seldom that you don't see too many crews on the indie scene that really stick together, like, through thick and thin. And it's like we were an elite group, man, that we traveled the indie scene, and this is what we love to do. Even though we wasn't making, $20 a shot, $30 a shot, driving 9, 10 hours, it was still worth it because we knew that whenever we made this journey or we went to this show that it was going to be one of the best times that, we could possibly make it, because we were going to make it fun one way or the other, because, we were on the road and we were wrestling, we were doing what we love, And just because we stuck together, I think, and it wasn't trying to stab each other in the back, trying to to get this or get that. It was just pretty much we all wanted to have fun, man. So we worked together to make it possible to have fun on these shows. Like whether it was like Matt and them going to bat for me. Even if I wasn't booked on a show, I'd just go to the show. We'd go as a crew. If 2 of us was booked on the show, the other 3 or 4 would go, and we would show up. And by the time the next show come around, the rest of us were on the show. That's just the way it worked. I don't know how, but whether it was just getting in the ring before the show and working out, and they liked what they saw, and just that was the thing. We just stuck together. We were just a tight group, man. We had each other's back.
You described what you went from the trampoline to the first hard ring. Tell us what that first hard ring was made of and what it was like.
Oh man, it was ridiculous. I think whenever I first realized that I couldn't take the punishment, it was actually a trampoline in the middle with the plywood on the outside. So it's like you still had the trampoline, but you still took bumps on the outside on the wood. And I started taking bumps on that, and it was like, dude, forget this. I can't do it. And then they went completely to the hard ring, and it was torture, man. I didn't weigh it. I was 110 pounds, 100 pounds, maybe then, and it was rough on my body.
What were some of the matches that you participated on through the Omega promotion that really stick out with your mind today? Because you've had thousands of matches since then, but I'm sure you probably still have some tape somewhere stored away.
Yeah, I have. I enjoyed working Jeff as Willow the Wisp. Like there was just something there, man. We had Kid Dynamo versus Willow. We did it a lot on the East Coast and just around out in Nashville and stuff. And for a year there, it was working a lot, and it was just so fun, just us working. We had such good chemistry together, and we had a lot of good matches together. And we look back, and there's a lot of stuff that I would change now, just from obviously learning over the years, and over all the matches. The more matches you have, you learn something every day. I'm still learning, but there's things I would change about the matches. But I look back and I go, wow, for what I knew then, and what Jeff knew then, those are some good matches. Just especially on the indies at the time. It was good. And that was a lot of fun. And Joey Matthews, I work with Joey Matthews a lot, which is part of M&M now at WWE. He was phenomenal. He was another young, talent or whatever. And at first, whenever I heard about him, there was that, I'm the cruiserweight around here. You ain't coming in. You ain't coming into Omega. And he had the same feeling. Everybody pumped him up. But dude, whenever we finally met, we bonded so good, and he was such a good guy. It was he had been through some things as far as I guess his dad, and just some situations my dad had been in. It was just, we had a lot of, we just connected, man. We had a lot, and we become real good friends, and just working with him was just fantastic.
He must have been an outsider at first, right? Because he wasn't one of the boys from North Carolina.
Right, yeah, he wasn't part of the NC crew, man. And once he come in, we'd heard about him, but, once we met him, man, he was one of us, Mm-hmm. It was just, and that was with a lot of people, a lot of people that, would meet, and it was we just didn't connect. But then there were some people that just come right in, man. It was they were part of the family.
Mm-hmm. How about this? How does Kid Dynamo? The only thing I remember about Kid Dynamo in the matches is you were the only one with a valet.
With the valet, yeah. That was.
Are we gonna get him in trouble? I heard you recently got married. You might get in trouble if you talk about that too much.
Trying to get me in. No, yeah, I had a valet or whatever, and then me and Willow, we had a feud at one point with the valet, I guess, versus valet. It was just it was a few shows, but women.
Talk about some of the other promoters that you worked for outside of Omega that you got to meet.
Outside of Omega, there was a series where, down in South Carolina, Mitch Goud, and I guess Thomas Simpson was part of the Mitch Goud crew then, and that was a pretty interesting I guess that was a pretty interesting time in my career, just because that was one of the things, like I was saying earlier. I just showed up at the show. It was our crew. We was there. I ended up working out in the ring with Jeff before, and Mitch seen it, and he's like, yeah, we want you on the show. So they ended up putting me on the show, and it was funny because we were doing licensings and the licensing process in the back, and they asked me my age, whatever, and I wasn't 18, so I lied about my age, whatever, and to get my license so I could wrestle that night. So I just lied about my age, and they licensed me, and me and Jeff, we wrestled that night. It was Willow versus Dynamo, another Willow versus Dynamo match, and whenever I came back to the town the next time, whatever, the commissioner was there again or whatever, and it was like, "Are you sure you're 18?" And I was like, "Yeah." So it turned into, I was like, "Yeah, I'm 18," and whatever. But I ended up keeping my license because they already had issued them or whatever. And then finally, everything was cool. But I had to lie about my age and stuff just to be licensed so I could wrestle there that night. From Mitch Gow to Count Grog, which everybody knows, he ran, I guess, SCW. He had some shows there to Burt Prentice out in Nashville. That was a good time there. And Bill Barons, I worked with him a lot, and those are a few of the promoters. I'm trying to think, and it was a long time ago, so I've kind of lost as far as what promoters. Jeff Rudd, I worked for him some. So it was just there was a lot of different promoters we were working for, but the main focus that we had was Omega at the time, and that was our pride and joy.
What was the goal beyond Omega? At that time, were you guys thinking, I'd love to be a TV star, I'd love to wrestle around the world, or was really you were just thinking, man, I just love this Omega stuff, I hope it never ends?
I think that's why Omega was, I guess you could say, successful. Not on I guess a TV type thing. It was more successful because we didn't look at it as, well, this is going to be on TV, and we think we can get ratings with this or that or this. It was us having fun. And we were doing what we love in the ring. We had our style of wrestling that we were doing, and that's what attracted people. I think that's what, it was just the elite crew, and we were there, and we were just having fun in the ring. And I think that's what showed up. That's what the people saw. They seen us having fun, and they seen, the people, they could sense that, and I think that's one of the reasons Omega was successful.
All right, I was told I had to ask this question. I'm not really sure where I'm supposed to go with it.
Right.
But what was the joke behind making Sweet Dreams the first Omega heavyweight champion?
Sweet Dreams, I don't think there was a joke behind it. Sweet Dreams, he's talented, man. He's got a little charisma about him, man, that just sticks out. So he was one of the guys. He come in, man. He's that you take like to. He's a pretty good dude. Yeah.
There was a couple other guys. I can't remember some of their names now, but some of them not even involved in wrestling anymore that were pretty cool at the time. You remember some? Have you lost touch with a lot of those guys?
Yeah. Well, I've lost. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that just over the years that we cross paths and you bond with them, or you become friends, and then you don't speak to them again for 2 years, and then you might see them. Being on the road, you might be in that town, and they might show up to the building or have a tryout or something. Yeah, there was just so many good people that that back then, and just all across just the whole indie scene. My whole time on the indies, whatever, before I was ever in WCW or WWE, there was some great people out there, man. And I think I really don't know what the scene's like now. From just what I hear, there's not a lot. The boys aren't as tight now, and on the indie scene, and I'm not sure because I haven't experienced it because I haven't been to a lot of the shows or whatever. But I can, back then, everybody, I just remember it was a good time in the locker room, man. Just one way or the other.
How about some of the guys? What are your early memories of Shane Helms? I know he's a good friend of yours.
Shane Helms. That's another interesting story as far as how we met. We always heard about Shane Helms and I guess Mike, his tag partner. And we went to a show, we checked them out or whatever, and at first, me and Matt and everybody's like, what's special about him or whatever. And then it was the same thing, just you meet, and it's just like a spark, and it's like, he was part of the crew, man. He was, once we met and once we started talking, at first, he was like, this guy's a little cocky, man, but that's, that was the Hurricane, man, whenever we first met. But yeah, everything was cool, man, after we met, and he just, like I said, he fit right in, and he was one of our boys, and he'll continue to be one of the boys, man.
I know the Hardys, they went up and did some TV stuff for WWE when they were younger. They went on the bus trips and they got dropped off and they did some TV. Did you ever get a chance to do any of that TV?
Nah, because at the time, you know, like, it still is kind of, but I guess WWE, it was just more of the big man, you know, like, if you were under 200 pounds, you didn't have a chance to, you know, get any kind of spot work or, you know, anything up there. And, you know, at the time, like, you know, I was working indies, whatever, and I knew I was too small, you know, like, I didn't even really stress the fact of trying to go up there or whatever, you know, just Matt, you know, we'd talk, and Matt was like, yeah, just keep putting your weight on, put your weight on. And I was in the gym, you know, I hit the gym hard whenever I was 15, so I started packing on pounds. And I knew at the time that, you know, I was too small as far as to ever compete there, so it was just, I knew it was going to take time. I needed to put on weight and just do what I was doing and just, you know, better my craft before I ever tried to go up there, because I wanted to be ready too. I didn't want to go up there because, you know, sometimes you only get one chance to impress, and I knew at the time that I wasn't ready. And you know, like, you know, Matt, they were honest with me, you know, like, that's the good thing about the boys, because your boys are going to be honest with you and they're going to let you know what they think. And I just wasn't prepared at the time, you know, just my game wasn't ready to be seen yet.
Has your size always been your biggest liability? You still feel it is?
Yeah, sometimes I do. I feel like, you know, if as far as my talent's not, you know, I'm pretty sure that size has held me back in a lot of ways, especially with WWE. You know, like, you can just watch TV every week and you can see. I mean, you know, I was beat up for 2 years. You know, like, these guys, you know, I'd go out there and it was fun though. You know, I enjoyed it. I'm not complaining about, you know, going out there and just, I guess, you know, being the little guy and being thrown around by the bigger guy just to make somebody look good. Like, because I had fun doing it. I would, you know, just coming up with different ways that, you know, it was just, I enjoyed it. But yeah, I think size is definitely a big part, you know, with that certain company. Mm-hmm. You know, as far as TNA, and, you know, TNA is obviously, they're showing that size doesn't matter there. I mean, you know, AJ Styles, he's, you know, a heavyweight champion, and you know, he comes off like a heavyweight champion because his wrestling ability. Mm-hmm. He's awesome. You know, he's such a great wrestler. It's like, it's believable that he could be the heavyweight champion. And I think, you know, like Rey Mysterio, like, you know, I think you could see Rey Mysterio as being champion, just because he's got that gift, and, you know, him being champion, I don't think it's a negative. I definitely don't. So I think you know, there's certain ways that the smaller guy can, you know, compete as far as just like the bigger guys. You know, I think as far as if you want to go on champion material, I think that, you know, cruiserweights or, you know, just a smaller guy in general, they can, you know, be the champion or be the big man, you know, on the big show.
I want to back up and talk about how you got your break into getting into WCW.
It was pretty much coincidence, really. Going back to Matt and Jeff, doing those, you know, little road trips, doing spot work with WWE, which was WWF at the time. They met Chris Kanyon, and Chris Kanyon was up there. He was doing some spot work up there too at the time, and Chris was under contract with WCW, and I asked Matt one day, I was like, hey, you know, Kanyon, you know Kanyon, right? And Matt was like, yeah, I've met him a few times. And I was like, well, you know, what if I gave him a call? You think, you know, he'd mind? And Matt was like, you know, Kanyon, he's such a cool dude. He's like, yeah, just get his number and give him a call. So I met one of his buddies that was doing an independent show at New Canyon. I was like, hey, if you could email Kanyon and just, you know, ask him would it be all right if I call and talk to him. So I called Kanyon. I'm like, hey, man, you know, Matt, he told me to call you. He said he was, you know, a pretty cool dude or whatever, and, you know, I hope I'm not bothering you, but I was just wondering if, you know, if there's any way I could get any spot work down there, because they had the cruiserweights at the time, you know, and I felt like it was my time. I felt like that I was good enough to actually go down there and do something. So he's like, well, you know what, we use our guys at the power plant, really, so, you know, you probably won't get no work down here. He said, go ahead and send me a tape. So I was like, all right, that's cool. So I set up all that night, man. I was doing my little video editing with my camcorder and just making my little tape. And the next day, he calls me back. He goes, bro, I just had a meeting with Eric Bischoff. He wants me to hire 21 cruiserweights. He said, they got to look, you know, younger than 21. I was like, okay. He said, send your tape. I was like, dude, it's already in the mail. I sent it out this morning. So he's like, all right. He said, I need it as fast as possible. And come to find out, like, Kanyon, he knew who I was because they got Music City Wrestling in Atlanta. And I was working for Burt Prentice a lot throughout that year. And Kanyon had seen me on TV. Like, he didn't tell me that at the beginning or whatever, but he kind of had an idea who I was. And he got my tape, and I guess he showed it to Bischoff. And that was that. He called me back, and I was waiting for his phone call back, and he called me. I forwarded Matt's number on my answer machine, and I was over at Matt's, was watching wrestling tapes, and he called and he goes, Shannon. I was like, yeah. He said, you're hired. He said, you're making X amount of dollars a year. And he said, I'll talk to you later. And he hung up, and I was like, dude, that's weird. You know, I was like, is this real? You know, is he just screwing with me or what? And Matt was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I think I got a job with WCW. And he goes, what? I was like, yeah, that was Canyon. And he just called me, and, you know, he just told me I was making X amount of dollars, and for 2 or 3 years, or, you know, however long the contract was, I can't even remember exactly the term. And he was like, you know, you're hired. And I was like, so I think I got a job. I don't know. So finally, Canyon, he called me back at my house a couple of days later, and they sent me my contract. And I think I actually got my contract before they ever seen me wrestle live. And that goes on into Canyon. He calls me. He's like, hey, you know, whenever you come down here, who do you want to wrestle? And I was like, the first thing out of my mouth was, you know, Billy Kidman or Rey Mysterio. And he goes, but you're not going to wrestle Ray or Billy or somebody like that. You know, they're big stars. Pretty much that's what he was getting to. And I was like, all right. He goes, you want to bring somebody? I was like, yeah. So me and Matt, we got together, whatever, was talking. I was like, who could have take, you know, I want to make a good impression or whatever. And he's like, take Shane. And I was like, yeah, Shane would be good. And so I took Shane down there, and, you know, Shane, his work, you know, it spoke for itself. And whenever they seen Shane in the ring, it was automatic, boom. Like, you know, we want that guy too, because he's good.
So of course you got half of Shane's first paycheck, right?
Nah, yeah, definitely. Nah, that's cool, man. Shane, he got that on his own, man. Like I said, it was just his talent that shined through, and they hired Shane whenever they seen him too.
So who were you said it was a group of 21 they were looking to hire. Who were some of the other names that were?
At the time, I think, you know, it was me, Akio, which was Jimmy Yang of the Young Dragons, Jamie Noble, who else? Tony, I think Tony Mamaluke, he was one of them. Joey and Christian got hired. Who else? I don't know, the list goes on, man. It was a bunch of cruiserweights, and some of them were just like, it seemed like they were kids that hadn't been wrestling for like 2 months, you know, because we all met down at the power plant, and just seeing some of these guys work, it's like, you know, at the time, I was probably 4 years of wrestling already, you know, before I went down then or whatever, and like some of these guys, you were like, wow, these guys are kind of inexperienced, you know, but yeah, a lot of them didn't make it, and then, you know, shortly after that, I think it was 3 months, then they did a big cut, and, you know, out of the 21, there wasn't but a few left, and me and Shane, we were, you know, 2 of the lucky ones that, you know, kept their job there.
How long was you said that the first deal was for X amount of dollars for so many years. Well, how many years was the first deal?
I'm pretty sure 2, I think it was 3 maybe.
And did you work under the first 3 years under that first deal, or did you have to?
Nah, my contract, like, after a while, I got a better contract. And there was a couple times where, you know, my contracts got better. And then toward the end, my contracts got worse, obviously. So it was just a game, you know, it was just business was bad, and my contracts got better, and then they went back down. So
I was going to ask how intimidating it was going into WCW down here. I mean, this is, you know, NWA, WCW is what we grew up on. But you were one of the more experienced guys, I guess, coming in your little group.
Right. It was scary, man, to be honest with you, just because, like I said, I was so used to, you know, having my group with me. You know, it's like me and Matt and Jeff and Shane and Joey Abs and Champagne, and, you know, there's usually 5 or 6 others together. But, you know, I was like, well, you know, at the time, Matt and Jeff, they'd already signed with WWE, and, you know, I was on alone, man. This is going to be a big journey, and, you know, it's pretty much I was going to be by myself. But, you know, once Shane got hired, it was like, well, you know, at least me and Shane were together, so it's kind of, it wasn't as, you know, intimidating as it could have been if it was just me by myself. But it was just fun. I was just excited, man. You know, it was like a dream come true, you know. It's what I've been wanting, and it was real fun.
Just because I'm afraid we won't come back to him. I mean, I know this answer, but it's going to be better coming from you.
Right.
What's Champagne doing today?
Champagne is into everything. He's a rapper. He's a surveyor. He's the Rock's assistant. Man, he's got a little bit of everything going on. Man, he's one of a kind. Champagne is definitely one of a kind, and you will never ever find another Champagne like Marty Garner.
Talk about some of those early matches with that you started with WCW. Who did you usually get paired with?
I think Our first match, it was a tag match. I think it was me and Shane against maybe Kazuhashi and who was it? God, I can't even remember, man. But you know, like Kazuhashi, we worked with him a lot, like the Japanese group that was there. And eventually, you know, we got to work with Ray and Psychosis, and it was just, you know, a little bit of everybody, man. Just after a while, you know, just kind of that first initial, you know, couple of tryout matches is like you wasn't working with nobody good, you know. But after a while, you know, once we proved that we could pretty much go, then, you know, they'd put us in there with, you know, Billy or whoever. It just took a while, you know, you had to pretty much prove yourself that, you know, you weren't going to go out there and kill somebody, you know, so.
What was the backstage politics like for you cruiserweights going into, you know, an arena where you had the Ric Flairs and Hulk Hogan's and what you call the older, bigger guys running the show?
Right. Be honest, at the time, you know, going into WCW so young, it was a totally different scene than the independent scene. I wasn't aware of the politics really. I was excited to be there, and I was gonna bust my ass to, you know, to prove myself. So obviously I was looked at as, you know, the young guy because, you know, I wasn't but, you know, 19 years old or 18 years old, and it was like, you know, I wasn't aware of the politics, so I really didn't get involved in the politic game, you know, like, but the longer I was there, the more you learn, the more you see, and the more you absorb. And it was just, you know, after a while you start seeing some of the political plays, and this happened and that happened, but I wasn't really in a situation where, you know, like, I could do anything about the political game, you know. I was new, I was young, and I was, you know, it was my chance to prove myself to the wrestling world that, you know, I had talent. So that's what, you know, I focused on or whatever, because, you know, just the awareness of the whole political game just wasn't even there for me at the time, because I hadn't learned it yet, you know.
A lot of guys in that cruiserweight group have mentioned stories that some of the older guys would say to them, hey, you know, your style, you're not going to be walking in 5-10 years, and they kind of felt some negativity to some of the older guys. You don't have to mention any names if you don't want.
Right.
You can if you do, but did you ever get stories or any people coming up to you saying those types of things?
Yeah, you would get, you know, the, you know, some of the older guys, some of the veterans, they'd come up to you and go, hey, you know, you need to slow it down, you need to do this, you need to do that. At the time, you know, it's like, dude, screw you know, like, I'm doing my thing. But now I look back and they're right, you know, like some of the things they were telling me, it was right. And, you know, I didn't want to absorb that because I was a cruiserweight. I was doing, you know, what I seen on TV, you know, like, I was like, wow, you know, Ray and them, they're out there doing this cool, you know, innovative move and this, so I need to think of stuff just like that, you know, so I could prove myself. It was just, I didn't know where to put it at the time. It was, you know, like, as far as psychology goes, I just, you know, I wasn't really aware of that. So I kind of knew, you know, I knew it, I knew what it was, but there was so much that I was missing because, you know, looking back then, just from then to now, just the experience that you get through working so much, man, like, I just didn't have that experience then. And, you know, some of the things that, you know, like, some of the things that the older guys would say, and, you know, it was the truth. But at the time, you know, I was like, oh, man, you know, God, why you gotta say that to me? You know, I'm busting my ass. This is, you know, I'm doing what I love, you know. I'm right, you're wrong, you know. Automatically, I took offense to it. But now I look back and I'm like, well, maybe I should, you know, maybe I'd have learned that faster if I'd have actually thought about it and said, well, can you sit down and, you know, explain it to me, explain what you're talking about? But then again, you'd get some guys that were just plain out just being a jackass about it and just, you know, hey, you know, basically you suck, you know, because you're out there and you're just flip-flopping around. You ain't got no talent. You're just athletic. But, you know, that's just the way the business is.
Did you have anybody in there that maybe you didn't know from before that you found to be, you know, on the other end, very supportive?
Yes, I did. You know, Chris Canyon was just, he's awesome. Like, you know, as far as in the ring, out of the ring, just a good human being. Like, Chris Canyon, he's one of my favorite people ever, man, just, you know, for as far as just common knowledge, help. And then, you know, like, you know, Jeff Jarrett, he just, there's so much I learned from him just out of the ring, just, you know, as far as from wrestling to just everyday life, you know, just little things. Because, you know, growing, you know, first of all, I didn't have my father there whenever I was, you know, 12 and 13 years old. From that point on, you know, my dad was in an accident, so he was paraplegic, and I didn't pretty much have a father figure there. So, you know, besides Matt and Jeff and, you know, just my crew, it was like there was a lot of things that I would learn that, you know, you'd normally learn from your father that, you know, I learned from wrestlers, man. Like, you know, like and it went on like, I was talking to Taker one night, and I told Taker that I was like, look, there's so much that people learn this. I'm not really kissing your ass or nothing. I'm just letting you know, like, I've learned stuff from you guys, from the veterans, like just outside the ring, just everyday life stuff too. Just because, it's just that the knowledge that they have, on things. They've been up the road, they've been through situations, and it's like. So as far as that, yeah, like Jeff Jarrett, he was great. Just as far as just talking to you, just hey, maybe you should try this, do that. He was awesome. I spoke on Canyon. Who else is there? That was like, and even Shane. Like Shane, he's real good as far as making just good valid points or whatever. And my stint in WCW, he'd always, especially in 3 count, because it was me and Shane and Evan. It was like. Evan, he considered himself the front man, like for shoot, like just I am the front man of 3 count, like, and it's like, dude, this will work, like, and Shane, as far as knowledge goes, Shane had a better perception as far as psychology goes in the ring, and a lot of times Shane, he'd be like, and he knew that, my big thing was as far as just being creative as far as wrestling, like, different moves and this, that, and the other, and Shane would be like, well, he'd get us together and he's like, maybe if you did this here or whatever and this here, and it makes sense. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But Evan, he was there trying to battle it every time. So it was like him and Shane is always, butting heads or whatever. And it was kind of like, whoa, pull back, fellas, we're a team. Let's try to get along or whatever. But that's just the way it is. A group's gonna have conflict. So we made it through it though, man.
Well, we're on the subject. How did 3 count get created? Whose idea was that?
Jimmy Hart. He, it was the time where Brittany and I guess, the Backstreet Boys and just the whole teen bop type bands were, exploding. And Jimmy had this idea. He was like, I just think it'd be big. He said, we could actually do songs and, we could sell CDs and we could put you guys on tour. And just, he had this big vision of 3 count, like actually being a legit band. And
you must have thought he was crazy at first, though, right?
Well, at first I was like, why me? Because, like my style, completely, I was more going for like the alternative rock, like, and he's like, well, what about a boy band, this and the other, and I'm like, it ain't my style, but okay, yeah, cool, let's go with it. And just over time, it could have been good, like just, especially the timing of it, it could have been a big thing if they would have really ran with it. And Jimmy, he ran with it the best he could, man. Like he fought, every which way he could to keep this thing going. And he took us to the studios in Florida, and we recorded songs and we recorded videos, and just the whole concept that Jimmy had, it was just he believed that 3 count was a boy band and that it was going to be successful. And I think it was successful to a certain extent, but I think there's much more that they could have did with it as far as that goes. And that's when I'll go into the story of the green circles too, because everybody always asks me about the green circles. And what happened, how the green circles come about was we had the blue screen behind us whenever we were shooting a video, and like the blue screen, that's where they go in and they add in water or wind or this or trees fall, whatever you want to put back there, whatever. And they had us on these green circles, which was originally going to be water. That's what they were going to make water, because something about the color green, I guess the whole production thing, I really don't know about that. But whenever they went back and they created the video and they were going to put the water under us, for some reason the water didn't show up in the video. It was just us dancing on these round circles, like 3 of them. So I guess Russo, he seen that and he thought it was pretty funny or whatever. And sure enough, man, I'm watching, whenever we made our debut, Russo was like, well, he said, we want you to carry these big green circles to the ring with you. And it was plywood, so these things are 40 pounds, man. They were heavy. So he wanted us to carry the green circles with us to the ring and put them down and dance, dance on the green circles. So it's kind of it's just funny how little things, like, they take little things and they just run with them, just as far as that, just the, coincidence that the green circle showed up in the music video and we'd be dancing on for the next 2 years.
So who's more uncomfortable dancing out of the 3 of you?
Who's more, I don't know. Depends.
I was thinking really between you and Shane, who's the most uncomfortable?
It depends on how many drinks we're having this, man. Yeah. Now, actually, Shane would dance, man, if he's got some underwear on, man, with like a rooster head. That's a little inside joke. You have to ask him about that at some point. Whatever, just his rooster head thong. That's all I got to say.
All right, we'll follow.
Yeah.
If this is just a hypothetical, if Evan was suddenly kicked out of 3 count, who would have replaced him?
I don't know. It depends on how many drinks we're having this, man. Yeah. Now, actually, Shane would dance, man, if he's got some underwear on, man, with like a rooster head. That's a little inside joke. You have to ask him about that at some point. Whatever, just his rooster head thong. That's all I got to say.
If this is just a hypothetical, if Evan was suddenly kicked out of 3 count, who would have replaced him?
Probably, I think Sid Vicious, man.
Sid Vicious.
Yeah.
He would have been a good one.
Yeah, I think Sid Vicious would have been the perfect one.
He could have carried all three of your clients.
Yeah, because at the time we did some stuff with Sid. Actually, it's pretty funny. On some house shows or whatever, we'd be out there dancing, and like we'd go out there. They'd send us out there because like the people would hate us, and I mean it'd get to the point where people were throwing cups and drinks and M&Ms and quarters. I mean we would get bombarded with just change and just all this craziness be thrown. And like we'd be using our green things as shields, like the plywood or whatever. And there for a while, like they'd send us out at the beginning of the show. We'd open the show singing whatever, boo. Then they'd send us out again at intermission. And then by the third time they sent us out, like the people were just throwing stuff and just getting hot. And then all of a sudden they'd send Sid out. And just the people would start going nuts because, he'd just be walking down just this big monster. And like the people, they just wanted to see us get killed. And he'd just come down real slow, man. Like the people would start cheering then, like, well, yeah, thank you. We'd grab the mic. We'd like, you see, we knew you like us. And finally Sid would get in the ring. We'd turn around. He'd just beat the crap out of us, man. And people, they just love that. They love to see us get beat up. So I think Sid, way back in his mind, man, I think that he had a vision of just being the front man of 3 Count.
Front man of the boy band. I know. We'll talk about your thoughts on Vince Russo. Some cruiserweights like him and some of them didn't.
Russo, he's got a lot of good ideas. And just like any other writer, anybody else, where there's good ideas, there's going to be bad ideas. There's not, ideas ain't going to go as good as others. And, Vince, he was always cool to me. He, like I said, he's the one who put 3 Count on TV. He's the one who, Jimmy went to, and he liked it. He's the one who gave us the green circles. So he was always real good to me. Like, I can't say too much bad about him. He, like I said, he gave us a start. He put us on TV, so.
I'm paraphrasing what Canyon said in an interview, but he said that he thought you guys, I guess he was talking about you cruiserweights and you specifically, were hurt by the ladder placement on the shows, a lot of the house shows and TV shows, instead of being on the front half, that they put you towards the end. And he said by then a lot of the times the crowds were a little non-responsive. And he said that kind of hurt you cruiserweights in essence. I don't know if you ever heard that from him, or
right.
If you have or haven't, would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I would. When a show, whenever you have a show, you got to build the show to keep the people. You got to keep the people up, man, because a 2-hour show, like if it's not a good show and you ain't keeping these people on their feet, then by the end of the show they're just gonna be sitting there and it's gonna be like blah. But yeah, sometimes, man, you're on later and what they seen before may have not been too good, and by that point they're just there like, yeah, hurry up and get the show over. By the time we get out there, like the reaction wasn't that good or this and the other, and then by that point the office is going, look, they ain't even getting a reaction. And it's like, it's not nothing that we were doing. It's just it could have been prior to our match, it could have been the matches before us. So I definitely think positioning on a show is really, it's got a lot to do with it. Especially whenever there's so many eyes on you, just going, well, should we keep these guys on TV or should we pull them off?
Well, and looking back at it now, I guess what you've learned in your 10+ years of wrestling, if you were going in fresh to a new show, where would you want to be on that show? Would you want to be early? Would you want to be tucked in the latter half?
It don't matter, man. I don't really care where I'm at on a show, because, I feel like a show, it ain't the first match or the last match that sells a show. It's the show, it's the complete show. That's what brings people there. So, it really, I like to open the show because, the people are going to be, they're going to be wide open. But if, you're halfway through the show and the people are still into it, it don't really matter, Right. But, yeah, as far as a favorite, though, I'd say I like being the show opener, man, because, they're ready to see that first match, man.
There was a time when you were working the Young Dragons almost every week. It was around the same time that the Hardys was, they were going in their series against Christian and Edge.
Right.
Was there ever a discussion, like from management, everybody else, that this is what WCW had to offer compared to what the Hardys and Christian and Edge were doing on TV?
I don't think there was ever
stealing the show, and
right. I don't think there was ever a discussion about that, but it was obvious what was going on. And, a lot of people knew as far as me and Shane's history with Matt and Jeff, and we all got kind of thrown into the same little group. So it's like, whenever they had their ladder stuff going on and everything, it was just kind of like, they had to be going, okay, well, we can compete with that here. We'll throw these guys out there and we'll let them have their ladder matches or whatever. And we had to take that consideration, you know, because, you know, it was hard because they were doing such good stuff, you know, like, you know, Matt, Jeff, Christian, Edge, and, you know, that whole, you know, the Dudleys, like, there was such good stuff going on. We had to try to go in a different direction with our ladder matches. You know, we couldn't go out there and, you know, mimic what they were doing because then it ain't gonna be nothing different. So, you know, our ladder matches, we tried to make a little different or whatever. And I was like, you know, whenever we build the scaffolds and stuff like that out of our ladders, like that was one of the ways we were trying to make it different. Just, you know, turn it more like a scaffold match / you know, ladder match. So.
And you were probably watching what your North Carolina boys were doing on TV. Were they? Do you know if they were watching what you were doing too?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Matt, you know, they were watching what we were doing. You know, Matt, and you know, there was criticism there. You know, like on each other. You know, like Matt, he'd see our stuff, and you get a phone call. Hey, man, yeah, why don't you try this a little better, or do this a little different? Like, you know, yeah, okay, that's cool. You know, we're taking consideration. You know, it's just because, you know, boys are boys. Like, you're gonna talk no matter if you're working, you know, for two separate companies, which is competition anyways, you know, like.
So that whole time, I mean, you could have lost touch and, you know, done your own thing, but both of you guys all stayed in touch?
Yeah, it's just, you know, the support system, you know, like, we've been there for each other, you know, for the last 10 years, and, you know, nothing's never going to change, you know.
I was going to say, you wrestled Shane in the Cruiserweight tournament?
Yeah.
What are your memories from that match?
I think I got beat with the vertebrae, man. I think my head's still hurting from that a little bit. Nah. I just remembered whatever. It was just, you know, it was a fun match, us wrestling each other just because we'd been on the same team forever, and then finally, you know, we got to wrestle each other on, you know, national TV or whatever, and it was good just wrestling one of your boys, you know, just in the national TV and WCW, which is, you know, the top company or one of the top companies. So it was, you know, it was a good experience.
Well, definitely the cruiserweights at that time were superior to WCW.
Yeah,
no doubt, so.
Yeah, definitely. The cruiserweights were called on a lot. You know, whether it be, you know, it was real weird too, just from, you know, now, like the different changes that I've been through as far as psychology and stuff, because we'd get told then, you know, like, hey, you know, even on, you know, pay-per-views or whatever, it'd be last minute. We wasn't scheduled to be on the card. Last minute, somebody would run up and they'd go, hey, we want you on the pay-per-view. You got 12 minutes. We want a car crash. It's like, wow, a car crash. You know, it's like that's what they wanted us for. They wanted that big train wreck. They wanted it to look like we were out there killing each other.
So there was actually pay-per-views where you were just sitting in the back because you didn't know whether you were going to be used or not, and they gave you 12 minutes to put something together.
Yeah, there was a couple times I can remember where, you know, we wasn't even scheduled to be on the show. Just last minute, hey, we, you know, 13-minute car crash or, you know, 12-minute car crash, or, you know, we want, you know, just go out there and just be entertaining, you know. So it was real cool, you know, because that felt good too, because, you know, they had to, you know, count on us to be able to do that, you know, because you just don't go to anybody and go, hey, you got, you know, 12 minutes on pay-per-view. We just, you know, want something entertaining, because, you know, some people can't do it. Some people go out there and just drop the ball, but we always managed to pull it off, and, you know, I think it showed. And
how about there were so many great cruiserweights. I mean, looking back on it, it's amazing that more didn't come out of it. So many amazing cruiserweights at that time. Were there any matches or any guys that you worked with that just stick out above the rest?
Yeah, I love working with Rey Mysterio. He's like, you work with him, it's amazing. You know, like, there's nothing like it. It's hard to describe, especially, you know, unless you've been in the ring. You know, you just know how it is whenever you're wrestling somebody, whenever, you know, things just flow. It's like, I don't think there's a person out there that Ray can't have a good match with, just for the way, you know, he's such a good wrestler. And like, you know, anytime that I've worked with him, it's been so fun, you know.
What makes Ray different than some of the other guys?
What makes him different?
What puts him on a different level?
It's just his style, his smoothness. Like, just in the ring, it's just everything's so smooth. You know, like, it's not a struggle. That's just, he's one of the smoothest wrestlers out there. Like, as far as just his style, he's got a different style. It's hard to describe. Does
he lead the matches usually you're with, or does he usually just adapt to what everybody else?
Nah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, it's not like Ray, or, you know, he don't take control and go, hey, this is what we're doing, you know, or, you know, this is how it's got to be, or this and the other. You know, Ray, he's just, you know, he's there. He just, like, he can adapt. You know, he's awesome.
You had a short feud with Brian Knobbs.
Yes.
You want to tell us what the thinking behind that was? And
well, my first thinking was, I'm not going to survive this. I'm going to be murdered by Brian Knobbs. That was my first thought whenever I heard we were going to be working with him. But as we worked with him, whatever, he was cool. Brian was real. He'd beat the mess out of you, but he, by the time we got to the end, whenever I guess we won the hardcore title, it was funny. I just remember, I remember before we went out there, or whatever, we was fired up. We're gonna win the title. Kevin Sullivan, he was booking it, I think, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna put the title on you guys, or whatever. Jimmy Hart was fired up, because 3 Count was gonna be the hardcore champions, like all 3 of us together, obviously. And he was like, who's gonna take the title home? And he's like, well, you're just gonna have to share it. 1 week you're gonna have to take it home. 1 week you're gonna have to take it home. And but it was pretty cool. By the time we got to the last match, whatever, I just remember Brian. I was going, all right, now just don't beat me up too bad. Like he was all worried about us beating him up. I'm like, dude, you're 380 pounds. You worried about us? I'm 140 pounds. But it was fun, though. It turned out to be a good time.
How about you also had a thing with Tank Abbott? Give us the background on that.
Tank Abbott, he would love to get rowdy after the show. That's one memory of him. I just remember him dancing in a chef's hat. That's one of my Tank Abbott memories, whatever. But now Tank, he was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to work. He just didn't have the wrestling, I guess, knowledge, or he didn't, wrestling wasn't the love of his life, It's like most of the guys, they have the passion for wrestling. It's like, Tank, he happened to fall into wrestling. He happened to fall into WCW. So to him, it was just, I think just, making money or whatever. And, he might have enjoyed it, but, most of the guys just had that love. And
but you can tell he didn't want to make the transition from UFC to wrestling.
Right. He's a shoot fighter, so it's hard to make that transition from shoot fighting to entertainment,
We'll talk about some of the veterans that were in WCW, just to pick your brain on what you thought of them. How about Ric Flair?
Ric Flair, he's awesome. He's one of the greatest guys. Like, you would think that he wouldn't be as cool as he was. Like, just, from the first day of meeting him, like, it was always, hey, how you doing? Just nice, just talk to you. And, later I become friends with David, his son. And, David's just like him. Like, they're just such good people, whatever. Like, Rick, he's just, he's one of a kind. He is Ric Flair.
About who was Mr. WCW in Sting?
Sting, I really didn't get a chance to, it was just pretty much, haze and hellos. As far as conversation and stuff, I really don't know Sting that good. So, it's hard to, comment as far as, how Sting was as a person, because I really didn't get a chance to know him.
How about Lex Luger?
Lex Luger, there were several times where, I talked with Lex or hung out with Lex, and, he was pretty cool for the most part or whatever. Like I said, like by this time, I really wasn't into the whole political mix, so that the stories that you hear and the all the stuff that you all the horror stories that you hear as far as how WCW is a big political battlefield or whatever. It's like I really wasn't involved in it, so I really didn't get tied up in all that. It was pretty much just like Lex and people like that. At the time, it was just pretty much a hey, how are you basis, until it got to the point where I got to know people really good. Like I said, like, Jarrett, like he was awesome just from the get-go, just from, the first day I met him. So.
About Diamond Dallas Page?
DDP, he him and Canyon were pretty good friends or whatever whenever I first got there, and DDP was always nice to me, man. He actually gave me my first speech on, you better save your money, kid. I'll never forget that. Me and Shane, we went down to the power plant for a week, and man, we've been down there, and like I done got knocked out, and I remember training that day. Somebody kneed me in the head during a drill, and I literally come to. I think it was in Burger King, and Shane was sitting across from me, and I drove to Burger King. Like I had no idea that I drove there. And I was like, "Where am I at?" And he's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Where are we at?" And I actually, at the time, I had to go outside to the payphone. I had to call I think I called my mom, and then I called my girlfriend at the time, and it was like, where am I at? And they're like, you're in Atlanta. You're down there for WCW. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And then I went back in, and then my memory started coming back to me. Like I don't know what happened, but it was just such a weird feeling of coming to in Burger King or whatever. But we went from there to Canyon's house, and that's what leads in. Canyon, we got there. Canyon's like, hey, Paige, he wants all the cruiserweights over here. He's got something he wants to talk to y'all about. I was like, all right, that's cool. So all the cruiserweights come over there. All the new cruiserweights at the power plant come over there, and we're sitting there on the couch, and finally Paige comes in, and he's like, hey, I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about the business. And, he's like, first of all, you better save your money. He said, don't spend your money. And I just gave us a little, lesson on saving your money or whatever. So from that point on, Paige was always real cool or whatever because, him and Canyon was, real tight or whatever. And we were Canyon's boys and, so Paige was always real nice.
What about Eric Bischoff?
Bischoff, he gave him a job, man. That's all I can say really. He was always nice to me. He's never did nothing wrong to me, and even to this day or whatever, we'll talk. Hey, how you doing? It's pretty much Eric. He was a business at the time. He was so busy throughout the shows of Nitro and this that, and the other. I really didn't get a chance to know him on a personal level. It was just pretty much business. Just he hired me and I was one of the talents there. So he was as far as that goes, I have nothing bad to say about him because he was always great to me. And like I said, he gave me an opportunity in WCW. And what more could you ask for, from somebody?
Did you think the Shane's injuries what ultimately led to the end of 3 count?
Shane's injury?
When he battling a knee injury, I believe?
Well, he got his nose broken at one point. And then I think his knee did, at one point. No, I just think it was the time of where, like I said, it was 3 count coming to an end was pretty much, I think, Nobody seen the vision that Jimmy Hart seen, or nobody, they just seen it going in different directions or whatever, and that's what led to the fall of 3 count. I don't think it was really an injury or nothing like that.
Took a leave of absence right after Starrcade 2000, and he did some matches for Wildside.
After Starrcade, I can't even remember that. That might have been.
Remember working for Wildside in between WCW?
Yeah, it might. Oh, in between the bye. Is that what you're talking about? Whenever.
Right, just right around 2000.
Right. Yeah, I did take a leave. There was one point where I hurt my knee, and I had to do some rehab on my knee, and I took a leave then, and then I guess that led up to me working, I guess, on Wildside and stuff like that, just getting back in shape.
So Wildside was kind of rehabbing just the knee.
Yeah.
Okay. There's actually even been books written about it. I don't know if you've ever read The Death of WCW or even seen the book, but there's countless stories and books and why WCW ultimately failed. Just what's your contribution to why you think WCW went under?
I just think, a lot of it was just bad business as far as money handling. I think that's really, I don't think it was necessarily, as far as the creative side, which that probably, toward the end it did get a little crazy as far as the, I guess the storylines and stuff, but I think a lot of it had to do with just the financial standpoint of the company, just the big contracts, the multi-million-dollar contracts to, people that you would never, you probably never even seen on TV, like that's from what I hear is, like there was certain guys that would just sit at home and, they were making, $500,000 and like they never showed up on Nitro before, for a couple of years. And it's just things like that, just I guess the money handling, I think, was the downfall. It had a lot to do with it.
So far, and you can't disappoint me on this one, I've gotten from everybody who's been in WCW, they've had a story that made that claim exactly that was about themselves. Like they said, man, I can't believe they spent money on this.
Right.
Can you give me one example that was definitely, that you were involved with that said, man, why did they spend that much money on that?
Right. I'm trying to think, man. I can't believe that they spent money. Wow. I don't know, man. They really didn't spend a lot of money on 3 count. You can tell by the production of the videos. So I can't really say, wow.
We've heard of people being flown up to New York City and doing vignettes, and they never filmed. They never put them on TV.
As far, I don't have no stories like that, but I can't believe the amount of money that they spent as far as travel. Because there was, as far as the way that guys would cash in their airline tickets and just get the cash back for it and buy a $100 flight. Like they'd have a, $4,000 airline ticket booked for people, or, $3,000 plane ticket for somebody to fly, from their house through Chicago to Miami to LA. And it was like, then the guys could just take this ticket, the way they'd book it, cash it in, and just get the money for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was like...
That was happening all over, huh?
Yeah, and that was happening, for years. And I guess by the time that, I found out about this, it was already too late. It had been stopped, so I didn't get to make the extra money off that. So I didn't get the, I don't think I got the little things that everybody talks about. I didn't get the multi-million-dollar contract, or I was always a few days late for each little thing. So but that's cool. Just just stories that you hear, like the money was thrown around so badly.
You were in the middle of the big Goldberg rise. What was it? Just tell us your impressions and memories of the Goldberg thing.
Goldberg, you know, he had an electricity that the people they loved it. You know, like he had that energy, he had the charisma. I think that, you know, the timing of Goldberg was everything. You know, it was just a time where the people were wanting, you know, they were wanting Goldberg, and whenever he showed up, it was just, you know, it was a big thing. And as far as Goldberg as a person goes, like, you know, he was another person. We'd always talk about bikes and stuff. We just had a lot in common as far as, you know, things like that. And however, Goldberg did about beat up Evan Courageous one time.
Oh yeah, tell us a little about that.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. Something had happened, and I guess Goldberg was talking to somebody, and Evan had walked up, and I guess kind of interrupted maybe from what I seen. You know, I seen it from, you know, a little distance, and something had happened. I guess Goldberg had his hand down, you know, toward his crotch area, and like he went to shake Evan's hand or something. Evan was like, no, and it just turned into, I guess, Goldberg choking Evan over the guardrail, and I was like, I turned my back because I didn't really want to see it, because it could have been bad.
Well, I mean, we'll see if Shane lives up to it. He said one day there's a time when he could do a whole tape on just Evan's stories.
Evan's, yeah, he had some stories. Evan had quite a few stories. I tell you, Evan, I guess a lot of the problems between Shane and 3 Count, and, you know, Evan was, I guess, in the ring or whatever. He felt like he was, I guess he was the veteran, you know, and like, you know, we had a lot of years behind us as far as, we wasn't in WCW like he had been for the last 2 years, but, you know, we've been working for 4 years before this, so, you know, we didn't brag on that, but we just wasn't, you know, we just didn't start yesterday, and I think that's one thing that, you know, I guess Evan, he considered himself the veteran maybe because he had been in WCW longer than us, and, you know, he just, you know, outside of wrestling and everything, like Evan, he was an awesome dude. Like, I enjoyed hanging out with Evan, you know, I have no problem with Evan. And he was just, sometimes in the ring, it'd get a little tense, you know, just because it tried to do that whole taking charge, and just, you know, that wasn't cool, you know.
How did you find out that WCW had been sold?
How did I find out? I showed up, and I think it was, I guess, for the last show, and there was signs in the hallway that said, WWE, or, you know, WWF, and they had arrows pointing to different rooms, and I was like, this is a rib, right? Like, I had no idea it was going to be sold, and I was like, what is this? You know, it was just kind of freaky. You seen that on the walls, and, you know, these are 2 companies that, you know, have fought each other for years, and all of a sudden, you know, I was in catering, and it was like, yeah, they're here, they're in the room down there. It was like, you know, Briscoe and, you know, Shane McMahon and people. And sure enough, that afternoon, that's whenever they come in, they announce, hey, you know, we own WCW. And immediately I was like, I'm out of a job.
Was there an actual meeting that night?
Yeah,
with Shane and...
Yeah, the whole, you know, Briscoe, I think Patterson. There was several people there that night. And, you know, they all walked into the room, and they were like, you know, pretty much, they said, you know, you guys, you know, we bought the company pretty much, and, you know, we'll be getting in touch with you guys. And I was like, oh, God, I'm 150 pounds. There's no way they're going to pick up my contract, you know. And sure enough, they did. So, you know, it was scary. It was like Armageddon, you know.
So was there a lot of people saying goodbye to each other that last night?
Yeah, it was sad, man, because you didn't know, you know, we didn't know if we were going to see each other again, you know. Like, you didn't know where the business was going, you know. You didn't know if everybody would be in WWE, or if, you know, you were going to just be jobless, or so it was a sad time, you know, because it was pretty much goodbyes, you thought, you know, like a lot of guys you thought you'd never see again.
Was there ever a time when did they just treat you on an individual basis, or was there ever a time when some of you guys from WCW that got picked up, they sit you down and give you anything like this is how we do things differently, or I guess how's the learning curve work on something like that?
Well, for me, I guess the way it worked, whatever, was, you know, pretty much I flew to Atlanta, and I had a meeting down there, and with JR, and he was like, you know, well, you know, we picked up your contract, we got a lot of plans, you know, for the cruiserweight division, and you know, basically, you know, we're glad to have you part of our team. So, you know, leaving that meeting, it was like, you know, I felt good. I was like, you know, I'm safe, you know, like I'm still gonna be able to do what I love and get paid for it. And so went home, sit at home for 2 or 3 months.
But still getting paid.
Yeah, still getting paid. But I sit at home for 2 or 3 months, and I was just getting antsy. I was like, God, I'm ready to get in the ring, man. I was like, I'm gonna be so out of shape, you know, by the time they call on me. So somebody had called me for, I think it was a Europe tour, and I think Blue Meanie had canceled. He wasn't gonna be able to go, and they was wanting me to be with Jasmine St. Clair, and I was like, well, sure. Yeah, they're gonna put me with Jasmine, and I guess she's gonna be my valet or whatever. And so I called the office. I'm like, hey, I got this tour I gotta go on. I was like, you know, it's me and Jasmine St. Clair. I was like, she's my valet. I was like, this is gonna be a fun tour. And they were like, well, okay, yeah, you can do it. And it's gonna be like a 2-week tour, I think. And about 3 days later, I get a phone call. I'm like, you know, I guess the tour was going to start, you know, the following week. I get a phone call, and they're like, hey, we want you to go to Cincinnati for, you know, a few days, or, you know, I think they said a week or something. So I was like, I can't do the tour now? And they're like, yeah, nah, we want you to go to Cincinnati. So I was like, dang, you know, that's good. I was like, because I'd never met Jasmine St. Clair or whatever, and I always wanted to meet her. And I was really excited about doing that tour for some reason. Like, I was just...
yeah, you probably had some good stories.
Yeah, no, that, yeah, wouldn't have been able to tell you guys. But that led on to me going to Cincinnati for the developmental territory there.
We talked, I mean, you probably, at the time, you were probably a little disappointed to have to go to Cincinnati before going on the tour, going on TV. But we talked on the phone, and you said that you really had a interesting learning experience down there, where you really felt like that was where a lot of the psychology and
yeah, it was.
Really took your game to a whole new level.
Yeah, I look back, you know, I think it was a year of being drunk there. But, you know, at the time it was bad. Thanks, Jamie Noble. Anyways, we, you know, I went there for, supposedly it's going to be 2 weeks. That turned into a month. And I was like, well, I might as well get a, you know, apartment here. It looks like I'm going to be here for a while. So actually me and Jamie and Johnny the Bull, or Johnny Stamboli, we got an apartment together. And Akio, I could say he helped us out with that a lot, because, you know, he started dating the manager of the apartment complex, so we got some good rates. Thanks, Jimmy. You know, just that year, you know, I'd work, we'd go to practice, we'd start the day, you know, at 12 o'clock. We'd go to practice, and we'd do practice matches after practice matches after practice matches, you know, throughout the, you know, the time that we were there practicing, you know, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, from 12 to 4, something like that. Then that night, usually, you know, we had a show every Tuesday night. We had a show just about every Saturday night. Then Sunday, we'd go to OVW in Louisville, and that's where we'd film our HWA TV show down in Louisville. So it was like, you know, we had those 3 shows a week, you know, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday, on top of practice every day except, you know, Sunday, which we had to go to Louisville. It's like, you know, that was just thousands of matches under my belt that, you know, that year that I was there. And it was just, and that's where it come from, you know. Les Thatcher, like, whenever I first got there was automatically, I'll never forget this, man, like, I already heard the word. Les Thatcher hated 3 count. You know, we didn't deserve to be in a ring. All we do is flips and flop around, whatever. So I walk in, I got my high techs on or whatever, and I got my shorts. And I guess Les wasn't a big Scott Hall fan at the time, whatever. And he goes, "Oh my God, look, another Scott Hall." And you know, I already heard he didn't like me anyways. And then I guess I had my boots on. He's like, "Oh, Scott Hall." I was like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be a rough ride here." But, you know, after a while, me and Les, we actually turned into good friends, man. Like, you know, he's a good guy. And he helped me a lot, like, you know, just the old school ways, you know, kind of mixing that with the new school style. And, you know, just working with him and just working with so many different guys throughout that year, and just working just day after day after day, match after match after match. That's where you learn. It's like there's you can't learn unless you're working. Unless you're in that ring wrestling and you're doing matches, you cannot learn. Because, you know, like, you know, I look back and just that year, I go, God, that's when it hit me. That's when I learned how to work. That's the year that I learned how to work, that I can say that I learned how to wrestle.
Now that you know, you feel like you've gotten to that new plane and understanding how wrestling works. You know, what do you do when you see a guy that maybe was in the position that you were in, and they're extremely charismatic or athletic, but they don't have it put together? Do you feel comfortable enough to pull them aside and say, "Hey, do this"?
Yeah, I do, and I stress that a lot, and I know that they're thinking, and I think the hard part about me doing that is, like you said earlier, you said in WCW, whenever the veterans would come to you, how did you take that or whatever, and at the time I was like, yeah, whatever, jackass, I know how to work. But they're thinking that of me now, whenever I go to those guys and I'm like, hey.
Yeah, but you're 26.
Right.
That's a different,
yeah, it is.
You're not coming from a different era.
Right.
You're
so it's like, but, that's just the way I'm thinking because I know, the way I thought before I got it, like, whenever somebody come to me and go, hey, you need to slow it down a little bit and you need to do this. And, me going to these guys now, I think they're going to be thinking the same thing, like, yeah, whatever, jackass, I know how to work. But, I'm just going to, I'm going to tell them, I'm going to say, I'm going to give them what knowledge I have, and whether they take it, or they don't, at least I told them. But there's, you got to take what everybody says into consideration because later on, a lot of times you look back and you go, you know what, he was right. Maybe I should have did that. So.
Well, what was the overall mindset of the guys that had contracts but were working HWA? Did everybody think it was just you were just trying to get a little seasoning in, or did a lot of people just feel like they didn't know how much longer they were going to be there?
A lot of guys, whenever we got there, there was Steve Bradley, he was there, and he was released, shortly, I guess a few months after we were there or whatever, and Steve was awesome. Like, he had his game down. Psychology, like, he had it. Steve, he had the total package, man. He could talk, he could wrestle, you see guys like that there and you go, why is this guy not on TV? Why is he not a main player? Why is he, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't know, it was kind of like, wow, well, man, I'm never going to make it up. I'm never going to make it to TV if this guy can't, if he can't make it there. But, like people like that, that's who made me better was, the Steve Bradleys and, the people there that had knowledge, and he would share it. And he would do it in a way that, he wasn't being a dick about it. He would just go, hey, maybe you should try this or maybe you should try that, I just think. And, okay. And, I tried, it worked, and it's like, wow, thank you. You can't help but to thank people like that because that's who makes you better,
Can you talk about your memories of your dark match that you had against Bill DeMont at Rebellion?
Bill DeMont at Rebellion? Me and Bill DeMont, we got a love-hate relationship. Like Bill, he's one of my favorite people in the world, man. Like I say, he was in Cincinnati for a while, or whatever, and I love me some Bill DeMont. I'll never forget. Like just every time we're in the ring, man, it's like he wants me to I want you to just hit me hard, and be. And I'll go out there, man, I'll hit him one time hard, and he's ready to kill me. It's like, man, you want me to do that? Why are you going to beat me up for it? But nah, yeah, but every time, just working with Bill was so fun, man. Like, that's another guy I really enjoyed working with because, it's just those little things that happen in the ring where you look back and you go, that was such a good time, man. Bill, he's such a good dude with a lot of knowledge. Like, from my understanding, I guess he's in the developmental territory now teaching for WWE and, all I can say is, guys, just listen to him because he can help you, and he's definitely one of my favorites to work with.
Well, you were called up shortly after that match. That's why I brought it up. I don't know if that was a match where they finally opened their eyes and said you were ready, or it's just coincidental. But
right, I think there was eyes on it too, and they seen that maybe I could work with everybody. Hey, this kid, he can work with, the bigger guys or the smaller guys. So it kind of, it made them maybe go, well, we can put him out there with whoever. He can adapt to whatever style. So I think, that did have a lot to do with it, working with Bill. And I couldn't ask for, a better person than, to be seen in the ring with than Bill because, he can help lead. He helped me a lot.
Was there any stigma when you finally went to WWE? Was there any stigma attached to you being one of the old, WCW guys?
Yeah, definitely. Like from, we were branded from the start, I think. I think that anybody from WCW had the brand on their forehead, and that was part of the battle, was just to prove yourself that you didn't have that so-called WCW attitude that everybody had heard about, and it helped out a lot too. Just me being I guess Matt and Jeff's boy, like that. Everybody pretty much got along with Matt and Jeff, and You know, I'd met a lot of the guys too, man. Just even whenever I was under contract with WCW, like I would still do road tours with Matt and them, just go to the shows, just hang out with the boys, you know. So there was a lot of the boys that I already knew, and you know, like once I got there, like you just with Rikishi, like Rikishi was, you know, he was so cool, and just you just fall into the mix, you know, like good people just fall, you know, it just happens, you know, it just if you don't fight the system, you just do what you're told and just kind of, you know, I guess be yourself. I think that's the main thing. I think that's where a lot of people mess up whenever they hit a locker room, is because they go in, they try to be this person that they're not. And it's like, just relax and go in and be yourself, and people will see who you are, you know, and they're not going to judge you. You know, there's no better way to prove somebody that you're a good person than to just be yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, were you there when Bagwell and Shane got in their little incident?
I got the phone call though.
Oh, you got the phone call?
Yeah.
What'd you hear on the phone?
I was happy to hear it. I was happy to hear the outcome.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Was that an old receipt? Is that what that was?
Nah, I don't think. I think it started that day. It was at the training facility or whatever, and I guess from what I hear, Shane was in the ring with Canyon, and Buff Bagwell had his big star attitude on that day, and went in there and was talking about, I guess, working circles around Canyon or something, this, that, and the other, and one thing led to the other, and I guess he kind of took a cheap slap at Shane in the back of the head or something while Shane was leaning up against the ropes, because I think Shane was icing his neck. He had a frozen water bottle from you know, what I'd heard, and his was kind of icing his neck or maybe his knee, and whenever he slapped him, like Shane turned around and just hit him with the water bottle in the head and split him open. He was like, well, let's go. You know, Shane was ready to go, because Shane, he could stand his own ground, man. I've seen Shane go or whatever, so, you know, and Buff was kind of backing off. Then, no, let's not, from what I heard or whatever. And Shane was like, well, if you want to go, let's go. You know, we can go now. And they got Shane, he got a lot of points for that, man, from the boys. Yeah,
sure
a lot of the boys were happy to hear about that one. Whatever. Just waiting for the run-in, man, from the mom.
How was the locker room in the WWE different than the WCW locker room?
The WCW locker room was, the boys were still having fun. We, you know, just down there, like, you know, everybody, you knew that you was going to work hard on the show. And, you know, after the show or whatever, like, you know, you were going to go and you could have a drink, or you could kind of just chill out. You know, if you want to go down to the lobby at the hotel and just hang out, you could do it. Nobody was going to really get on to you about it. You know, it was just laid back. And, you know, I guess that to the, you know, to the WWE locker room was more, the WWE locker room is more, it's more, I guess, a business. You know, it's more of a business type atmosphere. You know, it's the horseplay. It ain't happening. You know, you're not going to horseplay there. However, you know, Hugh Morris is going to try to tie me up, or, you know, in WCW and try to tie me to a locker or something. Or, you know, it's just, it was fun, man. Just it went from fun to business. You know, that's pretty much the best way to describe it.
So a guy like Hugh Morris, who probably was one of the stars in the locker room in WCW, doesn't really fit in a WWE locker room.
He fits in, but it's not the Hugh Morris that I used to know.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's the much more quieter. You know, like, you got to be on your business. You got to be on your business game there. You know,
right.
It's like there, like, you know, like I said, like Hugh, he's just, and you know what, it just brings morale up. You know, you got somebody like Hugh in the locker room, and just the things that he would do and the things that he would say, and just, you know, it puts everybody in good spirits. You know, like he was a leader, but he was also going to joke around, have a good time. He was going to make it a good time, but he was going to let you know that, you know, he was going to try to keep things in check, you know.
One of your first high-profile matches with WWE was your SummerSlam match with Kidman. Did that feel any different than maybe some of the times that you worked against Kidman back in WCW?
No, I didn't. Well, yeah, I can say, you know, it did. It was a different feeling, or as far as the style of match was different, because I'd already been through the, you know, the developmental system, and it was kind of, you know, I had a lot more knowledge by that point. So it was, the style of match was different, but as far as working with Kid, you know, it was the same. It was just, you know, it's a piece of cake, it's a day off, you know. What
is the difference between a WWE style of match compared to what WCW was doing?
Like, especially with us, WCW, they were wanting, like I said, the car crash. WWE was wanting you to tell a story, but they was wanting you to do the, you know, they still wanted a cruiserweight style match, but you have to, you know, it's that you got the psychology behind it. You got to have it.
Are the agents more hands-on there?
The agents more hands-on. Yeah.
So you would never get instructions 12 minutes before a pay-per-view and say just go out and do whatever you can to entertain the crowd.
Right, nah, yeah, that never happened.
You'd have to talk about what you were going to do in advance with one of the agents.
Yeah, the agents, like, it's real. Yeah, it's a real tight ship.
You also worked a series with Chavo Jr.
Yeah, Chavo, that's another favorite I like working with. Chavo, he, as far as, a young veteran in the business, Chavo has, he's been in the business all of his life. He was born he's born and bred professional wrestling. So it's like, as far as the cruiserweights go, he's one of the guys that I guess you could say he is a veteran because, he's got the knowledge. He's got a lot of knowledge about wrestling, and he can't help it. He was born into it, So it was always, that's another guy that's just so easy to work with, and just in and out of the ring, like such a good person. Like Chavo, he called me and just a conversation with him, it's just he's a big-hearted person, and you can't help but to like him. It's hard, it's hard not to.
Did you ever get to work Chavo Senior, Chavo Classic?
I had a few road trips with Chavo Classic, though. Yeah. The classic one. Yeah, we
recently did an interview with him. He's a character.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. He's full of life, isn't he, man? He's just wide open. We did a road trip or whatever, and I think we argued the whole time, just telling him to shut up. Like, I don't know how many times I told him to shut up. He'd be singing or whatever in the back seat, and he'd be calling me honky and white boy and this and the other, and I'd be, and it's just back and forth, man. It was a blast. Just a little bit of time that we got to spend with the classic. He was a good time.
You mentioned Jamie Noble a few times, but I was just throw out the name there and just whatever comes to mind.
Jamie, that was a year of nonstop, I guess, drinking, and he's like a brother, man. He, like I said, that one year that we lived together in Cincinnati, we become real close, and that's the point where you leave your family, and it's like you pretty much throw everything behind you. And we were in developmental together. He had to leave his kid and his wife, and we were there, and it was just we were there for each other. There was a lot of hard times that we were, that you go through so many ups and downs. Like within you look back on a year, and if you think about just all the stuff that you go through over a year, it's like, wow, I'm glad that, I had Jamie there or whatever, because I'd have drove myself crazy. I was crazy enough as it was, but having Jamie there, he was, he was like my brother, so it was good having him there.
I guess the ultimate peak in this profession, you could tie it to getting to work at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's probably everybody's dream. And I think that was WrestleMania 20 your first WrestleMania?
19.
19 was?
Yeah, 19 with I was out there with Matt whenever he wrestled Ray, and then I guess we did 20. I think that was the cruiserweight thing or whatever. So that's awesome, man. Like you did it. Like that's WrestleMania. If you've been part of a WrestleMania, no matter where you were on the card, no matter what you did, being in WrestleMania, like you can't get no better. You can't get no better than that.
Talk about a week at WrestleMania, because you don't run all the house shows and stick to the same schedule.
There's just people from all over the world there to see you. No matter, like I said, what position you are on WrestleMania. These people, they love wrestling, and it's like, whenever we were in Seattle, that was my first one, and it was like I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe just from people coming from different parts of the world to see this show, and just the way they were there all week, and they were up at 3 o'clock in the morning standing outside in the lobby, just dying to see somebody, or dying to talk to somebody, or just wanting some autographs, or this and the other, and just what they put themselves through to be part of WrestleMania, like, amazed me. It was just, there's nothing like it. So, it's just, being part of WrestleMania, like, that was one of, as far as accomplishing anything in wrestling, like, I look back and that's the two things that, I'm so proud of. I'm proud of being part of Starrcade, because that's something, that's WCW's WrestleMania. And, being part of WrestleMania too, it's like, there's so many people who can't say, they can't say that, hey, well, I was part of Starrcade and WrestleMania. Like, a lot of people can't say that, and to be able to say that I was in WCW and I was in Starrcade and that I was in WWE and I was part of WrestleMania, like, I feel like I did something. As far as career-wise, I feel like I've accomplished something.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to throw a couple other names that that we haven't thrown at you before. How about your thoughts on Spanky?
Who?
Spanky?
Spanky? Spanky, he's a different cat. He's awesome though. He's got his just road trips with me, him and Matt. Like we've had a lot of road trips together. And Spanky, he's funny, man. He'll crack you up, man. Just his little jokes and just a typical Spanky story, just a real brief story or whatever. Me and Matt, I was in the front seat, we were riding down the road or whatever, and Spanky's like, hey, big fan of pirates, Spanky is, he loves pirates, whatever. Hey, I want to stop off and let's get some liquor, whatever. Spanky gets him a bottle of liquor, and I think it might have been Captain Morgan's or something like that. This the pirate drink or whatever, and I got me some drinks. So we're driving, we pull up on this car, and it happened to be one of the referees, and so Spanky's like, all right, get closer, and he throws the bottle. I've never seen a bottle go out the window and like this, but he throws it in front of the car, like it seems like the wind would have took it, but he throws it and it passes the car and it hits the guy that's going in the back windshield or whatever, and we thought he busted a windshield. So Matt takes off, and I guess it was Sparky, I guess that was the referee, and we take off or whatever, and we're going or whatever, and finally the next day we get the TV or whatever, and everybody's completely forgot about the whole deal or whatever, and the ref comes up and he's like, Spanky, man, that wasn't cool, you about busted the window or whatever. And Spanky's like, I didn't do nothing. And we played off like we didn't do nothing or whatever. And he goes, and that, we thought it was a rental car. We thought he was driving a rental car. And he goes, that wasn't cool, man. He said, that was my girlfriend's car. So it was pretty cool. That's just something that was real funny or whatever that we ran with or whatever. But Spanky, yeah, he's awesome. He's one of a kind.
Did you get to talk much or associate much with Paul Heyman?
Yes, Paul Heyman is there's nothing else like Paul Heyman, as far as from a creative standpoint. I think about what he did with ECW, and he took all these guys and just the characters that he built in the ECW. It amazes me, and that's just a gift that he's got. He knows how to work off people's strong points, and he knows how to hide people's weaknesses. And Paul Heyman, he's definitely a mastermind as far as professional wrestling goes. And I think one day that I think Paul Heyman might have his own show again. Yeah. Yeah, I do, because he's too smart. I definitely see that.
One of the things I remembered when you were involved with WWE is being with Matt. Did you have any resentment about being ringside with Matt rather than getting to do your own thing, or were you just happy to be out there?
It was fun. A lot of people would look at it like that. A lot of people would and a lot of people would say that, as far as, yeah, you're Matt's lackey, and it wasn't that, it was fun, man. It's part of the show. It don't matter what role you have on the show. It's just, having fun. To me, doing what I love and having fun, that's what it was all about. And especially it was a chance, with Shane, getting to work with Shane in WCW. Now I got to work with Matt, and one of the top companies. And, we got to work together. So, it was a dream come true. Here we go from, Trampoline Wrestling Federation to Omega to being, WWE together, to us being an item together, us, I was his MFer. And just us being able to work together, it was awesome, yeah. It never crossed my mind once of, hey, I want to be in the limelight. I want to be the leader of the team, because it was just fun to me.
How about your matches with Brock Lesnar?
Brock Lesnar, that was fun, and that's one of the, I guess he's a freak, man, as far as how strong he is or whatever, and I'll never forget going to him. This is something that I would go back and change in a heartbeat, but that belly to belly I took, I don't know if you remember or whatever, I took a belly to belly from in the ring and he over the top rope to the floor on a show or whatever, and I went to him and I told him, I was like, I had an idea and this and the other. He's like, nah, you're gonna kill yourself, and sure enough, I did it, about killed myself. But just the way that he physically threw me from almost the middle of the ring to the ramp, my feet hit the ramp, it was amazing. Just the strength that that guy has.
How about your memories of working with Paul London?
Paul London, he's another talent that's kind of just, I guess, lost in the shuffle, I'd say. He's got his ability of wrestling's so good, and it's just I don't think he's gonna be he's not going to be used properly. You know, it's like he's got much more to offer than what's given to him, I think.
You talk about you were involved in a car accident.
Yeah.
That people read about on the internet, but I wanted to just get you to tell us what happened that night.
Yeah, actually, me and Matt, we were coming home. It was one night late. It was after the Raw show in Fayetteville, and Matt was in his Corvette, and I got a H2. I got a Hummer, so it's a big, it's like an SUV type vehicle. And we were riding side by side, man, and we were coming up to a stoplight. For some reason, I just pulled out and I cut Matt off and got in front of him. And I'm sitting there, I'm on the phone, I'm talking to somebody, and all of a sudden I see this car just coming straight at me, man, going about 45 or 50 miles an hour. And I'm on the phone, I'm like, I'm about to get hit head on. And so I put the phone down, and I just try to brace myself, and he hit me head on, man, and threw me into the windshield. And after it was all done and whatever, it was like, oh God, I was kind of in shock. I just got hit head on.
It threw you forward? You got hit head on?
Head on, yeah. It launched me into the like my.
Because you hit the back and then came back.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened. It just bam, like my head hit the windshield, and so all of a sudden I hear, and like the guy was trying to leave, his tires are spinning, but he's hung up on the front of my car, so he can't go nowhere. So I was like, God, this dude's trying to leave. So I'd run out or whatever, and I'd jump over the hood and I'd get to his side, and I had to jerk him out in the street or whatever, and kind of physically start keeping him there or whatever. And like he was just totally drunk. And finally Matt come running up. He parked and he come running up, and we're sitting there, we're talking to the guy, and like the guy's, he's laughing about it, and he's just, it's like, Matt's getting hot or whatever, and like I'm wanting to kill the guy. Like I'm just, 'cause what an idiot, just to be that drunk and driving in the first place. And second of all, if it had been a family, or even if it would have been Matt, he would have killed Matt, because Matt was in a vet. And I was sitting there going, luckily I was in front and he hit me. But 45, 50 miles an hour, and he had a big truck, it would have, just demolished Matt, it would have decapitated Matt. So, we're sitting here, we're both hot, and we're keeping him there, and finally the police come, and he ended up blowing like a .18, like double the limit or something, and ended up being a military guy. He's like an E7 in the military or something, E6, high-rank military, and, once it made the papers and stuff, like, they turned him over to the military police, and they took him off, and I guess once it made the papers, they realized who I was. The military police turned him back over to the city police or whatever. And it's still as far as my doctor bills and stuff like that, it's still kind of a big, I guess, hooray, just because, it's trying to be covered, I think. Everything's trying to be covered up, being that he was high rank in the military.
But have they covered those bills for you?
No, not yet. I got a lawyer working on it, but
okay, so it's still pending case.
It's still pending, but it was just amazing to me just how it was. A phone call was put into the police department 2 days later from the guy saying, hey, I'm this rank in the military or whatever. It might be best if you do this or drop the charges or this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. And from what I've heard, like, there was a few wrestling fans, as far as police officers that night, that were on the scene, and they was like, hey, you ain't getting out of this one. So it was real good that they stood up for me, because if it had been anybody else, just a whole political thing, like,
covered it up.
Yeah, the cover, it had been a big cover up. But like I said, like once it leaked and once it got out or whatever, like it was totally turned back over. Like the military didn't want nothing to do with it. So it's just kind of, it sucks whenever stuff like that happens. But I don't know. It sucks because if he would have killed somebody, like if it had been a family or a kid or somebody, and he would have killed them, then what then? Well, you can try to cover that, But just so happened, it was me.
But because you were in the Hummer, your injuries weren't so bad that it kept you out for any reason.
It actually did. I missed WrestleMania this past year.
That's why you missed it because of the injury?
Yeah, we had some stuff to do on the Hollywood, I guess the Walk of Fame or whatever. There was a few matches that I was going to do there. And, like I guess the Battle Royal or something before WrestleMania they had, the SmackDown versus Raw or something like that. I was supposed to be part of that. And it took me out for 3 weeks, and it took me a while to get back in the mix. So he cost me. And then there was a couple of DVDs that I missed. Like obviously I'd have been on the WrestleMania DVD. Then like the other stuff, there's a bunch of royalties that I missed. For the rest of my life, or however long I get royalties. It's like you cost me this. A chance to be part of WrestleMania, and then the money that I miss also. So it's like,
So a lot of people don't understand that you don't just get guaranteed pay. A lot of the stuff is on the back end.
right, yeah. I mean, no matter if, a guaranteed salary is a guaranteed salary, but how do you replace being part of WrestleMania? You can't, like I said, like, now that I'm moving on to other things, it's like, that could have been my last WrestleMania. I could have been part of this WrestleMania. It would have been my last one. But, I'd have had 3 WrestleManias under my belt instead of 2, but he, this idiot took it from me.
Sure. Wouldn't be fair, considering the timing of this, if we didn't just ask you what your thoughts are on the whole Edge Lita, Matt Hardy thing.
Right.
We're in the middle for the timing for this interview because a lot of people will be watching it later, and
right.
Who knows where the story's going to be now. But right now, we're right in the middle of the beginning of it. So,
right.
what's your take on it, being that you got some friends involved?
Like, I don't know, Matt and Amy, it was something out of the blue. Like, I never, ever would have expected it out of those 2 people, because out of my relationships or Jeff's relationships or, Shane's relationships or, all of our boys' relationships, Matt and Amy had something that was special. Like, you would never, ever, thought of them ever, they were so much alike. They were going to be together forever. You just knew it, and it just happened out of the blue, man. It was just unexpected, and I hate it happened, but it's like, like Amy, like she was such a good friend, and then Matt, he's pretty much blood. So it's like, I hate that she did that to Matt or whatever, because especially with your friend, your so-called friend, like Matt and Edge, they had that bond just from the TLC matches and just their history in WWE already, and it's like you trust this guy. So whatever happened, I was just like, how could they do that? It's just, it sucks or whatever. So, but Matt, he's moving on now. So he's in good spirits. So he's going to be all right. And I think the other 2, it's going to affect them more in the long run than it will Matt. I think Matt's going to be okay, but it's going to hit them eventually. Like they both screwed up. So
just because we're running close to short on time, I'm going to skip a couple of subjects that we had planned on covering. So if you guys are watching this interview, like, why didn't you ask them about this? Just right. Realize it's a time constraint. Maybe we'll get to it another day. But I want to talk about, right now, you're not working for WWE, obviously, or else
right.
we wouldn't be able to do this interview. Tell us what prompted your decision to leave WWE.
To leave WWE, it was more or less, I guess they released me,
But you were you were ready to go.
Yeah, I was pretty much ready. It was just, I felt like the last 2 years, I've been going pretty much at the same pace. It's like week after week after week. It's like pretty much I know my role. I'm ready for change. I'm ready to be, especially now with my knowledge of as far as wrestling wise go. As far as wrestling, I feel so comfortable with my ability now. Like just my knowledge. And I want to take that, and I'm ready to give what I have to offer. I haven't been able to do that yet. As far as the Prince of Punk, like I haven't been able to be the Prince of Punk yet. And, like that's something that I want to do, and I just feel like now, you're really going to be able to see what Shannon Moore has to offer, in the future. Just because I'm going to be able to open up, and I'm going to be able to be the Prince of Punk, and not just be Shannon Moore. Well, hey, we know what he's going to do next week on Velocity or whatever. Pretty much you could watch. You could pretty much know what I was going to do week to week. Whether you watch the show or not, you could be like, well, I bet Shannon Moore's going to be on Velocity this week, and he's probably going to wrestle, Funaki and whatever. So now it's just going to be a time for me to really open up, and for my fans and for everybody in the wrestling world to see what I really have to offer.
And obviously the next question is I guess we'll probably see this on TNA, because right now that's the only TV alternative we have.
Right. If Dixie Carter and the Jarretts, if they'll have me as part of their team, then I can't wait. Like I said, I'm so ready. I'm ready to expand. I'm ready to give what I have to offer. And if Dixie and if the Jarretts, if they want it, then I'm ready. I'm ready to work. I'm ready to give it 110%.
How much did you get to follow the TNA product being on the road with WWE?
I watched it a lot. Whenever I was on the road, like big X Division, fan or whatever, like just watching their stuff, like some of those guys that, whenever I was able, to work indies and stuff, then these guys hadn't started yet, you know, like they wasn't around then. So it's like, you know, after the years, you know, them, you know, they broke in since I wasn't able to work with them then, so, because they wasn't around. And just watching them, it's like, wow, I wish I could have got a chance to work with that guy, So now, you know, the doors are open, and there's going to be a lot of new guys I'm going to be able to work with, and, you know, I'm excited about that.
So if you got to pick who you were working, what guys are you most excited about working?
I'd love to work with Jeff again. You know, Jeff Hardy, I'd love to do something with him, or, you know, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, you know, just, you know, the list goes on and on as far as, you know, you got Raven, just, you know, there's so many guys, or, you know, Jarrett, like, just, I think it's not limited. You know, my thoughts, like, you know, I could sit here and go, yeah, well, you know, he's champion. You know, normally I'd be like, well, he's champion. I ain't gonna get to work with him. There's no way. That's not, you know, they're not gonna do that. But you never know with those guys. Like I said, AJ Styles was the champion, you know. So, like, you know, it's just the opportunity's there. So I'm ready to take what, you know, if they want to offer, and just run with it, you know.
And how about outside of TNA? I mean, you haven't signed anything yet, so I'm sure your dates are beginning to fill up now that you're going to be available.
Right. You know, like this last week, whatever's really whenever I guess it got out that, you know, I was going to start taking bookings. So, you know, I've already, between now and December, like, you know, my calendar's filling. You know, it's pretty full. So I'd like to do some stuff in Japan, Puerto Rico, and, you know, England. Like, I love going overseas. So I've never been to, you know, Mexico and wrestling. I've never been to Puerto Rico. And, you know, those are two places that, you know, I definitely would like to do now that I'm going to be able to, just to get it under my belt, just as far as so I can say, yeah, I've wrestled in Puerto Rico and Mexico. And, you know, I'm a big fan of just the whole Lucha Libre style anyways. Like, I'd love to go down there. I can't hang with those guys, especially now. My neck all messed up, my back. But I would love to go down there and work with some of those guys or whatever, just to, you know, say that I did it. I've been part of an actual Lucha Libre match or whatever, and just try it. But
another thing is we had mentioned, I guess it's no secret, you've been contacted, some guys want to get training. Are you looking to open up a wrestling school, or are you looking just to work with some of the guys that have contacted you?
Yeah, it's not gonna be nothing huge, like, you know, it's not nothing that I want to make, you know, a big deal out of, but I do want to open a school. I want to have a facility, and, you know, whenever I do have people that come to me that are really serious about wrestling or whatever, then, you know, train them or whatever, because, you know, I feel comfortable as far as I got enough knowledge to actually, you know, train people and, you know, make a decent worker out of, you know, people that's got, you know, that's talented, that has the athletic ability to do it. So it's just something that's always been a dream, to have my own little school and have my own little thing. So I'm in the process now of doing that over the next, you know, 90 days that, you know, I'm going to have to pretty much do whatever I want to do. And that's going to be one of my priorities, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like if you're interested in doing that, you must love wrestling as much now as you did when you started.
Yeah, my love for wrestling, it's never going to die. I never regret getting in the wrestling business. I mean, you know, I didn't go to college. I was straight out of high school in the WCW, so it's like, you know, this is my life. Wrestling's my life. If you take wrestling from me, you might as well kill me, because, you know, I'm dead. That's my love. That's what keeps me going, is wrestling. It's like every day, you know, I wake up, I eat, breathe, and sleep professional wrestling.
Are there any regrets that you've had so far that you wish, you know, if you were looking back on maybe the last, you know, 10, 12 years, that you could have changed something?
As far as regret, I wish I'd have been maybe a little more aggressive. Like, as far as, you know, instead of just always sitting back doing the right thing, I feel like I should have been, you know, there going, hey, this is what I think. Hey, this is what I think. Hey, this is what I think. That's the only thing, because I was so, you know, I'm so laid back, you know, I'll just sit back, yes, sir, no, ma'am, you know, and just do the right thing. That's all I want to do, is do the right thing. And it's like, I think it takes a little bit more than that. I think it takes, hey, you know, just your opinion. I think you should voice your opinion a lot more. And that's one thing that I didn't do. I never voiced my opinion a lot. It was always just, well, I think this, but I'll just keep my mouth shut, you know. And that's one thing I would do a lot different if I could go back, you know, especially, you know, WCW or, you know, wherever.
Who would you call now, just trying to close up here, who would you call now, after all these years, your friends in the wrestling business?
My friends, oh, man, there's so many of them. I mean, as far as in general, I mean, you know, the wrestling.
Who's in your inner circle, I guess?
My inner circle, right, you know, like, you know, Matt, you know, he's always there, whatever. Jeff, just, you know, it's the same crew, you know, just people that I deal with on an everyday basis, you know, that just keep you going, you know. It's pretty much the same crew, man, I rolled with. It's pretty much, you know. And I talk to everybody, though. You know, I still talk to people there. And, you know, I talk to London on an everyday basis. I talk to, like in Chavo or just, you know, boys are going to be boys, man. You, no matter where you're at, you're still going to keep in contact.
You mentioned Jeff being in your inner circle. What do you have to say? A lot of people will say that he seems to have lost the love for wrestling. You're a good friend of his. What would you say that's describing it accurately, or?
No, I think that's totally off. Jeff's love for wrestling is still there. You know, I talked to him, you know, like just last week we were talking, and it's just he's still got it, man. He's still got that love, and he's still got that spark. It's just I think he's been through some things, like as far as, you know, just with the rumors from, you know, why he was released to, you know, just them being on him so much about, you know, him being Jeff. One thing that you got to realize is Jeff Hardy, he is, you know, he's not like everybody else. He's got a different way of thinking. He's just got a different game plan. And it's like Jeff is going to be Jeff. Jeff, he don't have no problems. Jeff is Jeff, and you can't control Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy is just he's at the beat of his own drum, man, and you know you can't change that. And a lot of people look at it and they go, "Wow, he must be on something." But man, it ain't that. Like I've known Jeff for years. Jeff is just he's got his own original style, man, and that's the way, you know, Jeff, he lives the life of Jeff Hardy, and that's it. Nobody else is going to tell him what to do, and people can't accept that. You know, people can't. Not having that power over somebody, I guess that, you know, that makes him go crazy, because no matter what people tell Jeff, like, he's going to do what he wants to do, and that's just the way it is. You got to accept it, and you know, so that causes problems sometimes, and you know, but you just gotta go with the flow. If you want Jeff Hardy to be part of your product, you got to work with him. Right. You know.
We always put you on the spot. We do this with everybody. We put you on the spot. We ask you to tell us one good, funny road story. I know you told us a few here already tonight, but
yeah.
If you can come up with one more we hadn't heard yet.
Yeah, I guess the night that I put toothpaste in my hair. Me and Crash Ollie, God bless his soul, man. Like Crash, he's another guy. Like just immediately that, you know, he's one of my boys. Like, and that's one guy that, you know, I wake up every day and getting a phone call from Crash was so exciting, because you never knew what he was gonna say or what the conversation was gonna be like. But me and Matt and Crash, we were traveling together, and I guess like from just neck injuries and stuff, we had some, you know, a few painkillers or whatever, and so yeah, I get a couple of them or whatever, and I was calling them French fries because I had mine in a little French fry wrapper, and we were riding down the road or whatever, and we had a couple of them, and we stopped at. By this time, I done had a few beers too, man. So I was pretty out there or whatever, and first of all, we pull up to the store or whatever, and I guess Matt says that this girl walks in or whatever, and I get out of the car, and I'm all crazy. I had long hair then. My hair was all on my face or whatever, and he told me to stay in the car because I couldn't hardly walk. And he said the girl comes out of the store or whatever. First of all, I walked in, just grabbed a drink, walked right out. I guess Matt had to pay for it. And Matt said whenever he come out, he said, I was out there, and I was going, "Hey!" And I was talking to the girl. I was like, "Hey, get in the car. You're going with my buddies. We're going to Texas," or whatever. And like I was yelling at this chick, like she was scared to death. And her boyfriend walks out, and she's like, "Well, no, I'm with him." And I'm like, "I don't care who you with." I was like, You're going with us. You're going to Texas." And Matt's like, "Shannon, get in the car," or whatever. And like she's so scared, like she thinks I'm like a serial killer or something because I'm yelling at her, and my hair's on my face or whatever, and she don't know what to think. So she's almost willing to go. Like she's like, "Well, I'm with him," and like me being so aggressive, whatever. Like she didn't know how to react. So finally, Matt gets me in the car, whatever. We're on our way, so we're driving or whatever, and Matt said, you know, I'm leaning on his shoulder the whole time, pretty much, and drooling on him, and he slapped me, trying to keep me back in the passenger seat. And there's a point where we were getting off, and Crash, he's been drinking, whatever. He's fine. Like he ain't even affected yet. Like, but me, I'm the lightweight or whatever. Whenever it comes to drinking and stuff. And Matt said whenever we pull off the X or whatever, he said I just throw my hands up and cover my face, like, and I go, "Watch out for the doves!" Like there's birds or something gonna fly in the windshield or whatever. And he said, "Dude," he said, "you're freaking me out." So he said we get to the hotel, whatever. Me and Matt were staying in the same room, whatever. That's amazing too, huh? WWE, we're still rooming together, and. So he said that I get my bag out or whatever, my hair's still on my face, and I start pulling my roller bag, and you know, he's walking behind me, and he said, I'm just staggering through the lobby. You know, we finally get into the room or whatever. He said, I just take all my clothes off, just some butt naked or whatever, and just start getting stuff out of my toiletry bag. He said, go in there, whatever, and I take a shower, and I come and just plop on the bed and go to sleep. Matt said that he got up, and he goes, man, he said, I got up to use the bathroom. He said, you know, first of all, he said, there was water filled up all in the tub, like you took a bath. He said, then I looked up, and he said, there was soap, and he said, and there was toothpaste. He said, I just started going, So he goes back in there and he lays down and he looks at my hair and he said, man, I looked at you. And he said, you just had all kinds of little sparkly things in your hair. And he said, I immediately knew what happened. And I remember waking up the next morning and I was like, God, my hair's stiff. Like, so I was like, God, what happened? I was like, did I sweat or something? And so I go to my bag or whatever and, you know, I get my shampoo out of my bag and my conditioner. And I'm like, I thought I took a shower last night. And it hit me, man. Whenever I went in there and I seen my toothpaste on the thing, I realized that I went in there and I'd washed my hair with my toothpaste at night, just from being so messed up or whatever. And I had the lampshade head going on. It was like, I guess, so that was pretty funny. It was a good story. Yeah, never Matt. He likes to tell that one every once in a while. So beat you to it.
We want to thank you for your time today. We appreciate your honesty, and we wish you the best of luck. And we hope the best for you. And I know we're going to see a lot. You being back here in North Carolina. Welcome back.
Thanks, man. It's a pleasure to be back.
All right.
Maybe he thought he can get away with this to shake him up. You know, sometimes that's what a veteran does. Is you talk a little.
Men are looking for something high risk to pull out and to capture this tournament.
They're jockeying for position. I don't know who's got the advantage. They're shifting the weights. I still can't tell who's got the advantage here. Oh, neck breaker off the top.
That was a version of the Morgasm. That was